So with this video, I want to show you how strong actually Dogmatika Ritual is at the moment and how I would suggest you to play it. Playing cards like Dogmatika Punishment that you can search, but also hard drawing them is very good. Also Chaos Scepter Blast, which is a perfect non-targeting banish face down, so it's like the best form of removal you can actually ask for, even better than shuffling back into the deck or so. So this is like a free disruptions, either going first or second. Dogmatica Punishment is exceptionally good in this deck. And well, with the new release of the Photon Hypernova support, like Dogmatica Matrix or the Albazoa, this deck really functions as it should. Disciple or Nadir Servant is still like one of the best starters you can have, and Pot of Prosperity just makes this even stronger. So I'm just gonna play this and show you what we're actually gonna do. We can banish any cards that we really don't need at the moment. So let's see. So the card that we added ourselves is the Gale Dogra. If we don't see Gale Dogra, we use some other card. I don't know why it's called Dogmatica Punishment underneath. Very weird, but whatever. The card would be something like the Ecclesia or so. Ecclesia would be a nice addition, but Gale Dogra is still the best card. You could also play Manju, but if you're running low on time or so, if that's a problem for you. But this deck either wins instantly or loses very quickly. So I would say it's not very likely that you're going into a grind game where game three really comes into time issues. So I would say Gale Dogra is the way to go because it's a +2 actually. The monster on board is actually important. I will show you that afterwards. So yeah, we're gonna normal summon the Gale Dogra, activate its effect. We're playing 3 Herald of the Arclight. We need those 3 Heralds, trust me. And we're gonna search the first 2 cards. So this is basically what I'm going to show you. A 1 card broken as frick combo with Gale Dogra. Just watch. Just watch. The second Gale Dogra is gonna search us the Magician of Black Chaos Max. So what is going to happen is we're gonna activate Advanced Ritual Art, going to mill ourselves either Blue Eyes or I use Dragon Core Hexer because in theory, if we would special summon it in defense, it has the best body and it's a tuner. I don't know when this might come up, but if you want to avoid like something being stolen from your opponent with Bestials or so, I don't know why that would matter, but then don't go for a dark target, go for, I don't know, Sea Spiral Serpent or whatever that thing is called. But now you got Magician of Black Chaos, and Magician of Black Chaos Max has the effect if it's summoned, you contribute 1 monster, for example Gale Dogra, and your opponent cannot activate monster effects this turn. So if you know that your opponent's gonna activate some hand traps, then you can activate this effect, take the Gale Dogra, you will have a big body on board, and you'll still be able to play with your whole Dogmatika engine. This is one option. If you're going full aggro, you go into the better option. The next option is to link those two away for Dynamondo, another card from Photon Hypernova, which is ridiculous. First of all, it has a special summon effect which comes in handy going second. Tile 1 card on the field and 1 ritual monster in your graveyard and shuffle both into the deck. First, you get your ritual monster back that you've summoned, and also you can tile 1 card and shuffle it back. So that's a targeting shuffling effect for an opponent's monster. Now, during your opponent's turn, and this is where the juice comes in, you contribute this card and then target 1 ritual monster in your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Since we've special summoned Magician of Black Chaos Max beforehand, and then we're gonna special summon it in your opponent's turn, right in the standby phase, for example, this card will actually trigger because this card has its effect that if it's special summoned, it triggers and your opponent cannot activate monster effects this turn. So not only if it's ritual summoned. So what's going to happen is you're going to special summon in your opponent's standby phase the Magician of Black Chaos Max by tributing Dynamondo himself. And Magician of Black Chaos Max can then activate its effect. You contribute 1 monster, including Magician of Black Chaos Max. That's the good thing. And your opponent cannot activate monster effects this turn. So essentially, you're almost like skipping your opponent's turn. And that was a 1 card combo, and we're not even talking about the whole Dogmatika shit that you can do, going +1 with essentially this card and this card. It's so broken, it's a joke. So this is just so you see what you can do with just 1 card. We're now gonna just continue because the plays just get more and more ridiculous. So as we set up this, we are gonna see what else we can do. So we're playing the Dogmatika tricks, and we can search one Dogmatika Ritual Monster, Ritual Spell. It's important to go for the Ritual Spell here, because if we're going to go for Ecclesia later on, which, remember, you can still special summon her because you have uh, a extra deck monster in your graveyard, and that card can only search you a ritual monster. So Dogmatica Matrix should be used to actually search your ritual spell. In this case, because this is a hand where you got no ritual monster at all. No Magician of Black Chaos Max, no advanced ritual art, nor the Dogmatic Calamity that you're playing as a 3 of, nor the Albazoa. Just any card that, yeah, you will see how broken this is and how consistent this actually is. And hard drawing, Chaos Scepter Blast, and Dogmatica Punishment. So cards, Chaos Scepter Blast, you can't even search it, but it's so strong that you want to always have it in your hand, because they're always going to have a dark Spellcaster, or in general Spellcaster level 8 or higher, on your field. Either Magician of Black Chaos Max, or the Albazoa, or the Dogmatica Knight. So yeah, just going to continue at this point. Nadir's Servant, broken, going to trigger the, or just mill the Titanic Lad to get to your other card, that is the Ecclesia that we've talked about. And now you're locked into into non-extra deck plays. So going for the route, as I said, with Gale Dogra, going into the Dynamondo should be done before you do all the Nadir plays and before you activate Dogmatic Calamity, because both of them will actually lock you into your into non-extra deck plays. So this is very important. Just keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're doing something wrong. Now you can special summon the Ecclesia, as I said, because we got a monster. Um, uh, Let me see. You can special summon this card from your hand if a monster special from the extra deck is on the field. And this is the thing. Dynamondo is from your extra deck. Now you can special summon Ecclesia. I've actually messed up. It's not a card from your graveyard. That's the Maximus effect. Then you got to banish the Herald, for example, to special summon the Maximus from your hand. We're also playing some Maximus here, just so you know. Okay, so now we got this. Dogmatica Ecclesia will now search us a Dogmatica card from your hand to the deck. Um, it's actually a Dogmatica card, right? So it doesn't even matter if you, yeah, that's also a Dogmatica card. It doesn't matter how you do it. So now you're gonna trigger the effect and search the Dogmatica Albazoa. And now you got both of them. And, yeah, I see. Okay, perfect. Now everything is set up. You can activate the Dogmatic Calamity and special summon the Albazoa. Now Albazoa is going to trigger because they don't have anything on board. They have to send 7 cards from their extra deck or hand. We're going to assume it's their extra deck that they're going to use because they don't want to go minus from their hand. So now they only got 8 monsters left. Now obviously we're playing against Dogmatica Ritual. They would trigger in theory, but let's just assume that he's not playing that. And now what's going to happen is Dogmatica Matrix, since we got a ritual monster on board, a Dogmatica ritual monster, you can look at either player's extra deck and send one other card from it to the graveyard. So now we could actually, if we see, okay, he's playing this and this and that deck, and he still might have one card that is actually important to remove, we could remove that card from their extra deck, rip it off, or we can just go plus with our own cards. That could be like Herald of the Arclight to go +1 again, and or if I don't know what reason you would have to go for this play with the Bucephalus number 2 and the Garura. This is also a very nice combo. How this functions is that Dogmatica Punishment actually has a high attack target, which is the Bucephalus number 2 with 3500, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, then it can actually mill a Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your extra deck, which, funnily enough, Garura is one target. So now Garura is in your graveyard and you can draw one card. So Dogmatica Punishment, in general, if you're playing a trap-based deck, for example, which doesn't require you to play your extra deck, you can always play Dogmatica Punishment, and instead of just going for, obviously, if you're lucky enough and you have your opponent has a monster with less than, I don't know, it was, I think, 2,300 attack point. Let's see. no, 2500, then Elder Entity Entis will be your way to go because it can destroy another card. But if you don't, and if he has a 3000 plus attack monster, you can use the Bucephalus and then draw a card out of the effect of Garura. So that's something to keep in mind how Dogmatica Punishment will actually come in handy. So now it's going to continue. The Dogmatica card is going to send us our third Herald of the Arclight to get us even more advantage. This could be Dogmatica Macabre, which is quite nice. If they get rid of the Dogmatica Albazoa, we can actually use the Dogmatica Macabre and some Albazoa that we draw into or search again via the Dogmatica Matrix. Because yeah, I don't know. You can essentially this card allows you to um, get a light spellcaster with which has same attack and defense from your hand or deck. Um, oh, it's special summon. No, 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 no. Then never mind. Never mind. So this is. Uh, so you would actually have to have another Herald in your extra deck. Then Herald, for example, would search you with another Albazoa and then Dogmatica Macabre. Since Albazoa is in your graveyard, you can actually summon another Albazoa in your turn. But in general, Dogmatica Macabre is the way to go for mid-game plays. So yeah, I would just say let's see what we will do. We will actually set the two last cards and then end phase, and two effects will trigger. First of all, the Titanic Light, adding to our hand, for example, the Fleur-de-Lis, which is another interruption, um, and the um, Lulua Lilith. You could actually special summon another Fleur-de-Lis if you would play two of them. So if you don't get into your Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, you have a bigger beat stick, I would say, but always go for Titanic Led and face Fleur-de-Lis, I would say. And this is just the +1 that the Lulua Lilith is going to get you. This is a card that isn't out yet, so if we are playing the level 12, let's say Dragon Master Knight, then this effect wouldn't trigger, and we wouldn't have the special summon of the Ecclesia. So just think that one of those Ecclesias is actually not on board right now, but that's not a huge deal. I'll just say it like that, because yeah, you will see what will happen. So just pretend that one Ecclesia is less on board, but since if Cyberstorm Access is out, Lulua Lilith is an option, and then you would go for Ecclesia if you didn't get to special summon her because you didn't have the Nadir Servant or her in your hand already, then you would go for some pluses out of her, for going for the Dogmatic Fleur-de-Lis and stuff like that. So yeah, this is actually our board. Now he would like to activate the effect from his graveyard, for example, triggering him, targeting him. First of all, it's unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent Fusion, Synchro, Z, and Link monsters, so good luck with that. He's like basically not removable. Also with 4000 attack points and defense points, it's nothing that he can do. We actually just didn't activate it in the standby phase, the effect of Dynamondo, so I had to chain it, but you should do it in the standby phase so he can't actually activate any monster effects. And now what happened? Oh, stop it, stop it. We actually used one of the Ecclesias. Obviously, that's our only Ecclesia, so this one wouldn't be on board. But that's the cool thing, that we could use the Magician of Black Chaos Max. Instead of targeting himself, we could use like the dead Ecclesia on board. So that was quite nice. Now he cannot activate monster effects this turn, so he wouldn't be able to actually activate the Foster Warrior Skull Knight in his graveyard. If he has a quick effect, he can chain it onto the Magician of Black Chaos Max. But if he would have a quick effect, we would just wait till he activates it, and then we would go for the Chain Dynamondo and then going for Magician of Black Chaos Max, and then it would negate it. So yeah, now he's attempting to activate this permanent spell. We would actually be able to Dogmatica Punishment at this point, just destroy this card, and then we would have this play for the Bucephalus and the Garura, just going for +1. Would have been a nice option, but I just wanted to show you the Chaos Scepter Blast, which is obviously alive because of that card, or that card, it doesn't matter. So even if you get Kaiju'd, the Chaos Scepter Blast would still be alive. And yeah, then you non-target banish a card, which is incredibly insane. Um, yeah, he goes for his normal summon, let's say, then you could actually go for Dogmatika Punishment at this point. He can't activate its effect. Don't remember that this card is actually stopping the opponent completely. So we're just assuming that he's going to either have a deck which doesn't require you to activate monster effects, so dangers wouldn't be an option, but something like that has a special summon condition, not an activated effect, and normal summons. That's the only thing that he can actually do to get to place. And for these kind of things, we have the Chaos Scepter Blast and the Dogmatica Punishment to just get rid of those cards. And if he would be able to activate a monster effect, we would still have the Fleur de Lis. So this is quite nice. Um, Also, if he would set up cards and then I don't know, have a monster effect that has a quick effect on our turn, the Fleur de Lis is still in our hands, so we could still special summon her and negate the effect, just to remind you of that. Um, yeah, just, I don't know, going to destroy it, just showing you the Bucephalus, which gets you your Garura and then +1. And now he actually, if he would have a monster effect that he could still use, the Fleur de Lis would come in, and then we would have enough to OTK with the Albazoa, Magician of Black Chaos, and discard. Also, this is already game, just so you know that this is 4,000 as well. If we wouldn't have this card, then just go for just a ritual summon of something, and then you would have enough. Um, you still got the Dogmatica Matrix effect, so we will first of all trigger that. Just gonna show you that if he would interrupt us or so, just he couldn't destroy uh, our our um, uh, Albazoar or the Magician of Black Chaos Max because he didn't have a monster with enough attack. That so in other case scenario he would have destroyed the Albazoar or the Magician of Black Chaos Max, but whatever. um, yeah, just gonna show you the um, wait, let me go to the previous step. Yeah, I just milled the last target that I had. If I would have a card that goes +1, I would have gone for it. But this card is also quite nice because it can, if this card is sent to the graveyard, tie one face-up card on the field and negates its effect. So if he has a permanent spell or a field spell or a monster effect, which still might trigger, then you can stop it. So Dogmatica Punishment also becomes not only a disruption, but even a negation. This is a very cool card. I would suggest you to run it. And yeah, I'm just gonna like do simple stuff. So I just activated it so you can see that it can actually negate stuff. Then Dogmatica Macabre can use something from your graveyard to special summon, for example, this guy. And if you would still have some cards in his extra deck, then you could send one monster from your extra deck and then look at your opponents and send one from theirs. And then this card would gain attack points, so this would be also lethal. Obviously, we don't have any cards still in our extra deck. We actually, using all of our cards, we run out of our extra deck options very fast. This is crazy. So the second pot of prosperity is actually dead. But obviously for our first hand, this is quite important. And if we don't draw in your pot of prosperity, we would still have 6 cards left. So either way, either you're getting your strong cards, like for example the Gale Dogra or so, but if you don't draw into it, you'll still have 6 cards. So this is basically it. We could just attack and win the game from this position on, but I'm just going to show you the deck list now. So as I mentioned, 3 Albazoa, 3 White Knight of Dogmatica. This is still a nice card. You could maybe cut it down to 2, but I really like it. I also like to hard draw it because if you actually have so many searches, that's obvious, but you don't want to search this card primarily. You want to search like the Albazoa or some other cards. And if you get hand trapped and you can't search, then you just need something in your hand. So let's say, for example, that you got one Dogmatic Calamity and one White Knight or the Albazoa already in your hand. Then even if you got hand trap for the search effects, you still got the Dogmatic Calamity and go into your extra deck place. And activating Dogmatic Calamity to special summon the White Knight to get your Titanic Led in your graveyard to then special summon one Dogmatica monster, which will then be Ecclesia, which will then search you the Fleur de Lis, is already very, very good and very powerful. And White Knight in defense position, and then having the option um, if your opponent activates a card or effect that you can send one monster from their extra deck and stuff like that. This is still already quite nice. So this card on its own is a nice top deck. Just so you know. And then you gotta search less cards for your whole board. This is still a good card to get to your attack points and OTK. Sometimes that can come up can come up handy. Also, you could technically special summon this card via Dogmatic Calamity, and yeah, just using um, uh, uh, just using the Herald to go +1. That's also an option, but yeah. You only need one Magician of Black Chaos Max. You can obviously hard draw it. Then you only need to search for the Advanced Ritual Art to get to this play with Dynamondo and lock him out of your activated effects. But you have Gale Dogra, you have Pot of Prosperity. This card on its own can search your 2 cards. This card can go into Gale Dogra, or this card can actually give you this card or this card. Then obviously you have all of those Dogmatica monsters that will always trigger the Heralds, and Herald is always going to be able to search the Magician of Black Chaos Max or the Advanced Ritual Art. So just don't play those that many because you will actually break if you draw into multiples, or yeah, it's not worth it. Obviously, this is the card that you just don't want to draw, and you're not going to be able to get it back into your deck. So if you draw into this card, this engine is dead. So that's another thing that might happen. If you draw into this card and this card, then this card and this card becomes a dead card. So you just don't want to play 2 or 3 of these cards, because once you draw into this, those cards in your hand will be dead. If you just draw into that card, that's only your dead card. You know what I mean? All right. 3 Maximus, 1 Fleur de Lis for your disruption, obviously. But since you're playing the Magician of Black Chaos Max, you don't want to go into Fleur de Lis that many times because it's only one negate, and Magician of Black Chaos Max is like Omni everything negate, so Fleur de Lis is only there to be able to special summon itself or herself for the attack boost, for the attack boost, for the OTK potential. Obviously, she has an attack boost, but that's not what I meant. And yeah, it's just like a general good card if you don't get into your Black Chaos Max, or if it's already gone, then you still have the Fleur de Lis. Maximus is actually a very easy to be able to, very easy to special summon card, and it gets rid of 2 monsters from your opponent's extra deck also, which is quite insane if you have actually managed to, let's say for example, the Abazoa manages to get rid of 7 cards, then you might consider using Dogmatic tricks to get rid of another card. Then Maximus will rip off 2 cards. So 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 5 cards still in his extra deck. If you get to White Knight of Dogmatica, then he will have 4 cards. So any pots that he has are dead, or if he doesn't play any pots and he has an extra deck that is valuable to him, then he'll actually just lose. Ecclesia, just a plus card, can also be a normal summon, but is a strong special summon if you have Gale Dogra. Gale Dogra is actually better than Manju, as I said. Paying the life points isn't that costly. And yeah, Pot of Prosperity just to get to anything that you need. You don't need to go plus. This deck already goes plus, so playing Extravagance is a bad option, in my opinion. Also, Extravagance will randomly decide which card go into your graveyard. So that's not so cool. And so yeah, I would say Gale Dogra is the way to go. Um, and Pot of Prosperity just gets to everything that you need. Nadir's Servant, obvious. Dogmatica Tricks, obvious. These cards just go plus infinite. Pre-preparation as well. Add 1 ritual spell from your deck, then add 1 ritual monster from your deck to your hand whose name is listed on that ritual spell. So if we see how this functions, um, where is it? There. This is if both White Knight or of Dogmatica and White Relic of Dogmatica. So this card actually it has this card in its name. So and this card hasn't. So with pre-preparation, you can search Dogmatica Macabre and your White Knight. So it's actually, if you have this card, you actually hard drew into the White Knight. So yeah, you're playing actually 6 copies of White Knight. If you have the White Knight already in your hand, you can search the White Relic of Dogmatica. So this is a very nice card, and you get the Dogmatica Macabre for free. for later, or if you already have a Herald in your graveyard because you triggered something that got the Herald in your graveyard, then you can actually also activate the Dogmatika Macabre to special summon the white relic of Dogmatika, whatever. This card is also a card that you just want to hard draw. It's also a card that you want to see mid to late game. It's actually insane. The 2 Chaos Scepter Blast and the 2 Dogmatika Punishment are there because this card can be searched, so you don't want to play it as a 3-off. It has a hard ones per turn. And the Chaos Scepter Blast doesn't have a hard ones per turn, so you could actually play it as a 3-off, but it's not that broken. Like, obviously, you're going card neutral, so you're not generating advantage, but the way you're going card neutral is that you can decide whenever you want to just banish face down anything non-targeting. So this is quite nice, and it's going first and second card, which doesn't have a hard ones per turn, as I said, so you could actually play it as a 3-off, maybe cut one White Knight of Dogmatika, but I'm still not convinced that this is the way to go. For the rest of the deck, I'm very convinced that this is the way to go. Um, I'm not playing the Diviner of the Herald because I still think that Gale Dogra is the better special normal summon. So that's it. And you can also use the Almirage and the Secure Gardener to get rid of your Gale Dogra and then go into Secure Gardener. And then you would have Almirage in your graveyard so that your Dogmatika Maximus, for example, becomes alive. That's also a thing to consider. But obviously, Gale Dogra gets to Herald of the Arclight, for example, in your graveyard. It's just there, these cards, for if Gale Dogra gets negated, for example, then you're not able to get your Herald, and thus you have to go into Almirage and Secure Gardener, so just so you know that. And the rest of the deck is very easy to understand. You could change up the Fossil Knight for the Wagon to get rid of spell traps instead of like a monster. Um, yeah, but you could also play the Synchro 7, the Adignista monster, but yeah, this is just my decision. I still have these cards as options. Obviously, Called by could be a very nice option to help your Gale Dogra. Sangan is quite cool. The uh, the incantation engine is cool, but it doesn't function with your ritual monster because you're locked into not playing your extra deck. So if you're going for the Dynamondo play with the Magician of Black Chaos Max, you can't play the incantation engine. Obviously, these two cards aren't still available, so you would play like two Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon or stuff like that. I just wanted to show you what could be possible if you go for the Lulu Lilith plays. So that's everything. I hope you like this deck profile. I hope you like my ideas about this, and if you got any suggestions on what I should maybe consider or change up, or if you got a new idea of this thing, for example, if you like the Gale Dogra idea with the Dynamondo, then let me know. Also, I don't know, the Bucephalos with the Garura that comes up clutch, or I don't know, maybe the Chaos Scepter Blast is a cool card and concept that you actually like for your own deck, then let me know. This is a very good engine, like playing Gale Dogra, for example, in a ritual-based deck, for example, Blue Eyes Chaos Max, then this is also something that you want to consider because you're obviously just playing the Advanced Ritual Art anyway. And if you play 3 Advanced Ritual Art in your Blue Eyes deck, then you just need to get to your Blue Eyes Chaos, Magician of Black Chaos Max once via anything that you have at your disposal, and you will have this lock, as I said, in your Blue Eyes Chaos Max variant as well. With the Dynamondo, you just need one space in your extra deck, and that's Gucci. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.